The circus is in town, and Reed and Trent are there watching them set up. But it's not for fun, they're on the job.
Hey, a bearded lady.
Need I remind you, Harley, our purpose here is not to stare at bearded ladies, no matter how attractive they are. Our task is to find the code book that was stolen last night from the office of the Defense Department.
But all we have to go on, BJ, is an anonymous call saying someone in the circus is involved.
Reed calls a purple alert, which means call Stanley and tell him to come to the office. He tells Stanley, you may be gone for a few days, so make some excuse to hell. Stanley gets extra points for imagination, though not for believability.
A friend of mine just called. Do you think that you could spare me for a day or so that I could go digging for old Indian relics?
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Indian relics? You're kidding, right?
Oh, no, why? Old Indian relics are very fascinating.
Yeah, especially the old Indians.
We were so clueless. At the office, Stanley asks what the code book looks like.
The little book, something like this.
If the government doesn't get it back, our entire foreign policy could be in jeopardy.
Now, here are your power pills. Take one now and fly directly to the circus.
Yes, sir.
I notice we've shortened that whole sequence a lot. For one thing, he doesn't take them with water anymore. And as we just saw, we've sped up the rest of it considerably. And we're doing something with the time, believe it or not. We just got another look at Harley Trent, or at least the person he would like to be.
But what kind of job can I get with the circus?
Anything at all, my boy. Selling candy, programs, working in the supply tent.
Washing elephants?
Never wash an elephant.
Well, it's just like washing a car, Stanley, except the trunk is in the front instead of the rear. You know, the trunk of the elephant.
Please, Harley.
He imagines himself to be a bit of a comedian. It's a little heart-wrenching because he tries so hard and Reed always shoots him down. And really, his jokes aren't that bad. In 1967, pretty much all cars were front engine, trunk in the rear. So a mechanic like Stanley should, by all rights, have appreciated that joke. But Harley is the typical guy who's trying too hard instead of letting the humor come to him. That says he's also super insecure and trying to get approval from most anybody. Mostly Reed, because he looks up to Reed a lot. That's why it cuts him so deep when Reed squelches him like that. We learned all that from that one scene. In 10 seconds, we learned more about Trent than we did in 10 episodes. But just as with Captain Nice last time, it's too little too late. This show's time was drawing near and most everybody knew it. Maybe that's why they loosened their ties a little and started experimenting with different ways of doing stock scenes. I don't know. As I said last time, I'd really like to see a remake. A series, not a movie, Hollywood. I just want to make that clear, because when you try to make movies out of these things, you inevitably... Stanley goes to the owner of the circus and offers his services as a strongman of all things. He shows off a little and the owner says, you're in. But the current strongman, a big guy named Bojo, starts complaining that Stanley can't possibly do what he does. Needless to say, Stanley is in, and if Bojo wants to stay, he has to share the spotlight. They all head out except one person.
I am Teresa, and I want to welcome you to the circus.
Why, thank you, Teresa. That's very nice of you.
Stanley, you are very strong, but you have to be careful. There are bad people with the circus who don't like strangers.
Teresa, we're waiting.
I'm coming, Adam.
Well, these bad people, who are they?
I can't say anymore. Just beware.
She's as full of information as Reed usually is. Later, Stanley's looking for the book in Bojo's tent when they meet again.
I am the anonymous caller who told your people that someone in the circus had stolen a code book of some value.
She thinks her partners and Bojo are the ones who stole the book, but she hasn't been able to find it. Then the predictable happens.
Oh, someone is coming.
Under the bed, quick.
We're treated to some nice gags before Bojo finally leaves. As you might expect, since they're laying in dust, Stanley sneezes. That did not go as I expected. Virtually no two episodes of this show had the same writer, so a little variation isn't unusual. But that actually made me laugh because it didn't go where everybody knew it was going to. I like it. Next morning, Stanley calls Reed to report.
What have you got to report?
Plenty, Mr. Reed. I haven't found the code book, but I found the lady who called about it. She's Teresa, a member of the Flying Sylvesters, and she says that her two partners and maybe Bojo, the strongman, are involved in the theft.
Tiny reports back to Bojo and the two Sylvesters about what he heard. He was expecting some kind of reward, but Bojo basically says your reward is you get to keep your head attached to your body. If you ever tell anyone about this, that reward is revoked.
What are we going to do about this government agent? And Teresa?
Yes, you leave the agent to Bojo. And the two of you should have no difficulty in arranging a little accident for Teresa, eh?
Bojo takes a shirt of Stanley's and takes it to Kondu, the world's most ferocious gorilla. He starts beating the gorilla with the shirt to make it hate Stanley. Then when he shoves Stanley within reach tomorrow, Kondu will tear into pieces. We have gotten really dark. We've also provided the plot for Wonder Woman vs. Gargantua a few years later. At dress rehearsal, Reed and Trent appear dressed as clowns. They tell Stanley, we'll search for the code book while you guys are rehearsing. First up, the trapeze team. To Teresa's surprise, they've decided to go without a net. Stanley knows something is wrong, so he powers up. If they want to make it look like an accident, it's got to be more subtle than that. The way that guy just stood there when it was obvious he was supposed to swing out and catch her might fool Kondu, but I'm not sure it fooled anybody else. Stanley reveals everything to the owner. The Sylvesters take off, and Bojo decides to stay and fight.
Kondo is loose.
Stanley says, I'll take care of it. He toys with Kondu just a little too long. Gotta do the power off gag. And I think we all knew it was going to happen with Kondu, because a gorilla is about the only kind of enemy it hasn't happened with yet. Reed and Trent enter, and Stanley explains that he doesn't have another booster pill. Trent goes to give him one. Kondu examines the pill and finally eats it. The result is this. I have no idea what I'm watching right now. Kondu returns to his usual self, and Stanley needs a pill, quick. Stanley subdues Kondu and repairs the cage, with Bojo still in there with Kondu. Now the question is, where is that blasted code book?
Whose shoes are those?
Oh, those are the strongman's. He left them behind when I hit him.
Well, 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 what is this?
The code book.
Well, bless my soul.
I knew he was a heel, but I never thought we'd find the code book in his soul.
The best part of that joke is the way it went right over Reed and Trent's heads. I think this is the best episode I've seen so far. Not only do we have a complex plot with some really good gags, but we have an air of genuine menace, and for a little while we forget we're watching a comedy show. One thing I haven't talked about up to this point is there's a difference between the order of episodes in the German release and what is listed on the usual websites. In my description of the show's development, or lack thereof, I'm following the DVD order. Ultimately, it doesn't matter much because we only had 17 episodes. So whether this was episode 11 as in the DVD order, or episode 16 as in the original airing order isn't really important. Either way, an outstanding episode like this one was, as we've said, too little, too late. On to Captain Nice. While Carter Nash is heading home for the evening, Chief Ziegel is briefing his men out in front of the police station because their payroll is due to arrive by armored car any minute. Sergeant Kane is there too. She says, "What should I do?"
I want you to keep a record of everything that happens starting right now.
Yes, sir.
This time we are going to look good. Not like a bunch of nitwits.
Bunch of nitwits, yes, sir.
Sergeant, you don't have to write down everything.
He gives her a job to do, then says don't do it so well. The armored car pulls up and the guards get ready to unload the payroll.
Fighting broke out at exactly 7:15.
It always fascinates me in these sitcoms how the bad guys just walk up and start shooting. What's really fascinating is they have all that time to set up and take careful aim, and just like the police, they never hit anything. Then one of the bad guys produces a machine gun and drives the cops back into an alley. Carter hears the shooting and ducks into a dark place to change into Captain Nice. What's taking Carter so long? The way he usually does it, he should be here by now.
Captain Nice.
Yeah, where's he been all this time? He was almost ready to drink the formula before they even switched the armored cars. Do I want to know what he was doing in there?
What was it? A robbery attempt on the city payroll?
That's right, but we managed to fight them off. Payroll is safe.
Did you capture any of the crooks?
No.
Did you see what they look like?
No, but I'll recognize them next time they come around.
How?
Well, for one thing, they'll be shooting at me.
We're finally getting some insight into the chief 11 episodes in. And the insight we're getting is, he's a dimwit.
Did you at least wound any of them?
I don't think so. How did we do, Sergeant?
97 rounds of ammunition fired. No hits.
The chief says, must be something wrong with our ammunition. Captain Nice holds out his hand for the pistol and says, may I?
Good shooting.
Thank you. There's nothing wrong with the ammunition, Chief.
Then how can his marksmanship be so bad?
Well, is there something you do in particular when you pull the trigger?
I don't think so. I just shut my eyes as tight as I can, blast away.
That would explain it. I find myself asking the same question about Chief Ziegel that I keep asking about Chief O'Hara. How the heck did he get that job in the first place? However he did it, we're getting a really good look at how poorly equipped he is for it and how badly he knows he's in over his head. As Captain Nice flies away, the chief makes another fairly bad decision.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
Now that's not funny!
Yes, it is, Carter. It all depends on your point of view.
How am I supposed to write this in the report, Chief?
Well, as a direct hit.
On what?
Unidentified flying object.
Or, since the shot made him land, unidentified falling object. Maybe it shocked him and triggered some things, so unidentified flatulent object. Or maybe...
Hey, see? Payroll wasn't stolen after all. That means you owe me $5. What for? Well, you bet me $5 that they'd get the payroll.
Mayor Uncle Fred is short of cash, surprise, surprise. So he and the chief head down to the cashier and get a nice new $5 bill out of the new payroll. In one of the most pointlessly drawn-out sequences yet on this show, we see the bill pass through an indeterminate number of hands, and none of them notices that it's counterfeit. It goes on way too long, though it does have one good moment.
Thanks, Chief. The next time you bet me the payroll will be robbed, you'd better think twice.
Chief Siegel, you mean you bet Mayor Finney the payroll wouldn't be robbed, and you bet Miss Schneider the payroll would be robbed?
I hate to lose.
He's a dimwit and he's really insecure about it. This man is becoming more real by the second, except for the question of what he did for Mayor Uncle Fred to get his job. Carter ends up with the bill, and in the lab he notices something odd.
Now, why should this bill smell of parasilicic acid when the United States government only uses parasililic acid?
Yeah, I was just wondering that myself. He decides to run some tests on the bill and says by morning I'll know if it's counterfeit.
How do I know that you're not giving me 100 real dollars and 500 counterfeit dollars?
Because these are the real dollars and these are the counterfeit dollars.
No, wait a minute. You told me that these were the real dollars and these were the counterfeit dollars.
No. These are the real dollars and these are the No, wait. These are the real dollars and these are the... I'll write you a check.
Why did they keep any of the counterfeit? What do they plan to do with it? Carter has been consulting a police artist in the room about the bill, and it turns out he's part of the gang. He reports that Carter is going to find out the bills are counterfeit. The boss says no, he's not, because tonight we're going to go to his house and kill him.
If Nash lives with his family, we may have to kill, 6 or 8 people.
Counterfeiting all day, murdering and hijacking all night.
I know what you mean, Anthony. Some of us have all the fun.
Sergeant Kane is over for dinner, and Mother is all over her about her exciting life as a policewoman. Candy shows her a few self-defense moves, then Mother gets really serious.
Hi-he-bo you! Hi-he-bo you! Hi-he-bo you! Hi-he-bo you! Hi-he-bo you! Tell me, Sergeant Kane, can you break hunks of wood and things like that? Sure. Oh, come on, show me. Oh, well, I mean, I don't want to... Come on, Sergeant Kane, I want to see how it works. Well, here it comes. Come on, I love it. All right, ready? Ready. Hi-he-bo you!
That makes me laugh every time. The two of them pulled it off perfectly.
Well, no wonder I never get invited back.
To be fair, she did ask you to break something. The bad guys are at the door.
Quiet. Into the living room. Okay, get your hands up, everyone. You too. Frisk him, Anthony.
You frisk me, and it'll be the last frisking you'll ever do.
Anthony is smart enough to take the hint. Carter comes in and finds himself at gunpoint. The boss demands the $5 bill and his report on it, but Carter has to go to the lab to get them. And the boss won't let him take his briefcase, but he does make him take Anthony.
Of course.
What?
The time lock. This safe can't be opened till 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Oh, just set your watch ahead and open it.
But what if he's not wearing a watch?
It doesn't work that way.
How do you know? Have you tried?
Of course not. What you don't realize is the time-space continuum is non-juxtapositional, astrophysically speaking.
Oh, well, I know that.
I like this guy.
How are you going to open the safe?
I know. I'll mix a tiny batch of nitroglycerin just to jar the lock open.
Nitroglycerin, better known as Captain Nice Juice.
Oh, but isn't that dangerous? What if you make a mistake?
We could be blown to bits.
Oh. I'm going to explain that to the gang.
It won't be easy. Carter has a spare bottle of formula and a spare uniform and a hidden panel in a drawer. He manages to slip the formula into his pocket before Anthony notices. Now he needs the right opportunity to use it.
I'm afraid I'm not being a very good hostess.
Oh, on the contrary, it's been a most unusual evening.
Is there anything you want?
Yes, there is one thing.
What is it?
Could you chew through my ropes?
In that brief glimpse of their hands, it looked like they were pretty close to untying each other, so maybe chewing won't be necessary. But if it is, it is.
If Nash doesn't walk through that door in 8 minutes, ladies, you're dead.
Well, we're in a lot of trouble.
We sure are. That's the closet.
Nash can't drink the formula thanks to Anthony being so nosy, so he makes the nitroglycerin.
All I need is a detonating device.
You better hurry up. It's almost 9 o'clock. You're running out of time.
We are going to a very unusual place here. Carter's parents and his girlfriend are about to be executed and he can't get there to save them. This is very interesting.
Okay, ladies, time's up. 5, 4, 3...
I told you. Carter wakes up and realizes he may be too late. He forgot to take off his coat and his glasses. He's really in a hurry.
All right. That's enough of the hidey-hody. Time's up, ladies. What's that?
It's Captain Knife's. That's what it is. Release those women.
If you're not a speck in the sky in the next few seconds...
Good shooting, Mr. Nash.
But he ruined his paper. How's he going to read that part now?
Mr. Nash, you're our hero. You saved our lives.
He'll really be thrilled when he finds out about this tomorrow.
What do you mean tomorrow?
That's when he'll read it in the morning paper.
In the epilogue, the chief has a new foolproof plan to protect the payroll.
The armored car will be here in a minute, but the money will not be in it. Payroll will be delivered in the morning in a paper bag by a small boy on a bicycle.
Then what will be in the armored car?
Be loaded with my men. If a robbery is attempted, the back doors will fly open. My entire force will come out shooting.
I'm sure the chief planned for that.
Oh, it worked like a charm.
Are you sure?
They didn't get payroll, did
It must be safe because there's no more cops around to guard it.
Let's see now. The payroll bandits were unsuccessful. All they managed to get away with was one armored truck worth at least $20,000 and the entire big town police force.
Where have these people been? This was the best episode so far, and I laugh at the jokes every time I watch it. But those jokes are coming from real people. Granted, this show has been doing a lot more character development than Mr. Terrific ever dreamed of, but it's been difficult to put it all together. This episode accomplished that. All the characters are genuine, fleshed-out people, even Mr. Nash. We got a little insight about him that I didn't show, and then, of course, he saves the day. It all falls together around the counterfeit money plot. It's a thing of beauty. Why haven't we been doing this sort of thing all along? If we had had this kind of quality from the beginning, instead of beating the recycled gags to death, the show might have survived. Once again, Mayor Uncle Fred didn't do his "I asked you not to tell me that" joke, and it was a welcome omission. I hope they just let that one die along with most of the others they kept hitting us with in the early episodes. But just like Mr. Terrific, it was too little too late. This show only had 4 episodes left. Mr. Terrific lasted 2 more than that. So Captain Nice won the race to get canceled first. Quality was just delayed too long, and by the time it came along, audiences didn't care anymore. Until next time.